Okay, guys, I want to talk some real shit with you here. So over the last 6 months, maybe more, I've really been focusing on some of the root causes of my own autoimmune illness, Hashimoto's, but just autoimmune illness in general. That means like digging into it myself, but also really digging into the research. And my friends, it is incontrovertible. There is so much evidence that the real root cause, and we can talk about like infections, we can talk about Epstein-Barr virus, we can talk about COVID and so on, but the real root cause of autoimmune illness is emotional trauma. It is emotional trauma. There's so much research around this. We know that people who have childhood trauma are, I believe, 4 times more likely, that's 400% more likely to have an autoimmune illness in adulthood than people who didn't. We also know that people who come back from combat with PTSD are 7 to 100% more likely to be hospitalized with an autoimmune illness. That's how tight the connection is between trauma, emotional trauma, and autoimmunity. In fact, the way the research is going, the link between trauma and autoimmunity is about as tight as the link between smoking and cancer. Like, that's how much they go together. Now, okay, it's not quite as much. If you have childhood trauma, you don't necessarily end up with autoimmunity, but if you have autoimmunity, it's pretty likely there's some serious emotional trauma. And I'm talking about this because I've been working on this issue for myself. I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism in 2003, but really started like digging into like what is going on, how do I change my life? 2007, that's when I gave up gluten and dairy and soy and made enormous improvements. I was able to get pregnant and so much healthier. My skin's healthier. But I've always been sort of still on the edge of a lot of these symptoms. I didn't feel like I had a lot of resilience. So as long as like I kept to everything strictly, I was okay. And that's because I realized that my immune system was always going to be hyped up. It was always going to be vigilant, not because of just what I was eating, but because of what I was feeling. And it wasn't like, okay, no stress in your life. Of course, that's not real. We all have stress. But how do we deprogram ourselves so that we don't react to stress in the same way, so that our whole body's not hyped up all the time? Because that's what autoimmune illness is. A lot of it is we need to learn to express our emotions. I don't mean scream and shout, but we need to create space for ourselves. We need to stop being so nice. We need to stop putting everybody else first. Note, I said nice, not kind. Kindness is different. Nice is when you shove down what you're feeling and you just put on a smile and let everybody else have their way, even if they're walking all over you. I know this is particularly hard for women to hear. We need to claim our space, because if we don't act out, if we don't speak out, we act in. Our immune system actually starts attacking us. And this is not just metaphors, my friend. The research is so solid. Great book called The Myth of Normal by Gabor Mate. Trauma, Illness, and Healing in a Toxic Culture. I highly recommend it. I've been doing a lot of this deep trauma work, and you'll be hearing more about it soon.